Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today's video, I kind of just want to get another discussion going about Gran Turismo 7. They always seem to do really well in the comments in terms of people putting both negative and positive viewpoints in it. It's always good to try, kind of get these discussions going, especially for a game that's, I'd say, as controversial as Gran Turismo 7 has been over the last, 6 months, 7 months at this point. So it would be really good to just see everyone's differing opinion on what they think of this topic. However, before I get into the topic, I just want to thank my sponsors for today's video, the Controller People. There will be a link in the description where you can go ahead and check out all the awesome custom and pro controllers that they do. I will be reviewing one within a few weeks time, so hopefully you'll be able to tune in and just see how good the quality of their controllers are. I would, or me personally, would rather spend that little bit extra on a proper decent one-off custom controller or a proper pro controller and get the highest quality possible than these the PlayStation 5 controllers, to be honest, because I've gone through about 4 of them within around about 2 years. So yeah, go ahead, check them out in the link in the description, and we'll get straight in to today's video. So the topic of today's video is, was GT7 rushed to release or just released that bit too early? Now, I have a quite big feeling when I kind of look into how Gran Turismo 7's evolving that maybe Sony had quite a big say in it. If we look back to the PlayStation 5 reveal, I believe Gran Turismo 7 was one of those games. It looked like an awesome, bit of tech demo, really showing off, what racing games can look like on PlayStation 5. It was, really, really good looking, and I just remember the insane amount of hype, all around the internet for, we're finally getting this big numbered Gran Turismo game. Obviously, the last numbered Gran Turismo being Gran Turismo 6, way back in, I believe, 2013. So it had been a very long time, 9 years come release day. So it was just an insane amount of hype behind the game. People were just going crazy about it. We'd seen rumors for years that it was coming, and then all of a sudden it didn't happen on PS4, and we'd not had one for that generation. However, PlayStation 5 was coming out, and all of a sudden we've got this insanely awesome looking trailer, really pretty details, all the cars looking absolutely top notch, like we'd never really seen them before. It was shaping up to be probably the most hyped Gran Turismo in a very, very long time, since the days of probably Gran Turismo 4, I'd say. I remember the amount of hype behind that game, even before the internet was at a point where it is now. Just magazines and everything really hyping up this Gran Turismo, and a lot of people were genuinely excited. Obviously we had GT Sport, which was the more esports kind of focus FIA game, and I think people at that point were just really ready for a proper numbered title, a proper career mode, and all that good stuff. Now fast forward to March 2022, and Gran Turismo 7 is finally released. I believe it did get a little bit of a delay, if I remember rightly, or I think the rumours were it was coming in like 2021. I think originally people thought it would be a launch title or something, but it turns out it wasn't. So anyway, March 2022, Gran Turismo 7 finally gets released to the world. It had been insanely hyped for weeks before, especially it started really just picking up momentum, and people were like, oh, it's only a few weeks till Gran Turismo 7, and people just couldn't believe it. It was finally getting a modern day numbered title. Not to say Gran Turismo 6 isn't kind of a modern game, but it was very dated by that point, and it was probably not the best in the series. In fact, it was probably overlooked by a lot of people, even though it was a solid game. So here comes Polyphony and Sony's chance to really take the racing world by storm, shift many consoles. Obviously, the first Gran Turismo to be released on multiple platforms, so obviously it had the PlayStation 4 release and the PlayStation 5 release, and well, yeah, what we got on launch day was a little bit of a mess. It almost felt like these reviews were not quite right, and that was rightly so. It turns out the reviews and the reviewers were all playing on a different version, where none of the microtransactions or anything like that had been implemented. The microtransactions at launch felt very kind of forced, I would say. I wouldn't say they're as bad now, to be quite honest. That is my personal opinion. I know people still seem to absolutely bang on about microtransactions, but the economy is much better in its current state. But on release, it was terrible. Earning money was the biggest, longest grind I think I've ever seen in a racing game. It was a massive pain, and there was loads of people defending it, but that's, you know, a different story really. But honestly, it just didn't really feel like what we all thought it was going to be. Me personally, I assumed the cafe menu was building up, or kind of like as if it was a, I guess, hand-holding tutorial, building up to a bigger career mode. So, you know, if you look at games like Grid Legends, it has the story, it takes you through like 20 kind of scenarios, and then you get into the proper meaty career mode. And I kind of assumed, you know what, maybe it'll be a bit like that. You know, this cafe menu will kind of take you through the basics, take you through tuning, get you to unlock everything in terms of, you know, your world map and stuff. And then we'll have a proper original career mode, which Gran Turismo is pretty much famous for, you know, for taking hours. We'll have endurance races bundled in their own category. We'll have, you know, Japanese events, manufacturer events, all that good stuff, you know, from Gran Turismo games of old. And it will take, you know, months, maybe even years to complete some of those harder events. And no, it turns out cafe menus were actually the main career mode. And it just, yeah, even to this day, I can't wrap my head around that, you know, having that kind of format as a career mode in a numbered title. It's just very weird. I mean, I believe in terms of doing all the gold license tests, all the gold missions, and the cafe menus, I believe after the first week of release I had all of them done, and all of them gold, leaving only the circuit experience, which at the time with the original handling model was very, very difficult. I did not enjoy them at all. Obviously come update 1.13, I believe that did change it, and all gold circuit experiences were pretty much done with an absolute breeze at that point. Then we have the car roster. Now, if you look at the majority of the cars that are released in GT7, most of them are actually just kind of ported over from GT Sport and made to look a little bit better. And it's a really strange one. There's not many modern or new cars in the game. You know, a lot of them, like I said, are from GT Sport, and it just makes me think like, you know, were they, you know, all these cars that they're releasing free at a time, were they working on them, and Sony said, look, you've got to get this game out now, we can't afford any more kind of, you know, delays and all that such, because, you know, Polyphony and Gran Turismo were always renowned for delaying games for years to get it pretty much perfect. If you look at Gran Turismo 4, I believe that received, you know, multiple delays to the point where, you know, you'd be ready for release, and then all of a sudden, oh no, you've got to wait another 6 months, and then another year, and so on and so forth. And it does kind of, you know, when I look at the car list, it does make me think, okay, we're getting a lot more modern cars through these updates, but the original car roster was very kind of geared towards, you know, majority of the GT Sport cars with a few new additions. So again, just really kind of bizarre that, you know, the roster isn't up to date in a up-to-date racing game. It does make me think, you know, these have probably been in the work for a long time, and they've kind of been, you know, just rushed and forced to just get the game out as quick as they possibly can. And I feel like Sony does have a lot of influence when it comes to that. Now, if I had to compare Gran Turismo 7 to any of the previous Gran Turismo games, I would say it's very much like Gran Turismo 3 in the fact that, you know, while GT3 was visually absolutely stunning, and even to this day does look very good, it felt like a tech demo. It was a lot more watered down from what we had in, you know, GT2, and that's kind of what this feels like in terms of the numbered title games. Gran Turismo 7 feels more like a showcase and a tech demo than it does a proper full-blown numbered title. And, you know, it does get me thinking, you know, with how it is, you know, was this rushed out to sell consoles or sell PlayStation consoles to those who are into Gran Turismo games? Obviously, you know, in terms of a proper number Gran Turismo, they've not had one since 2013, which was released on a PlayStation 3. So yeah, it does make me think, you know, Sony may have had a lot of influence in just saying to Polyphony, look, you need to get this game out, we need to sell consoles, so whatever state it's in, you know, finish up as quick as you can, and just get this, you know, on store shelves, because we need to start shifting consoles. We want to, you know, get all that, you know, the money from Gran Turismo, because let's be honest, you know, Gran Turismo is very much a Sony property. It's renowned for being, you know, PlayStation only, and it does sell consoles very much so. If it wasn't for Gran Turismo, I don't think personally I'd be playing PlayStation to this day. I remember you know, way back in the, well, I think it was like 2000 or 2001, hearing about Gran Turismo 3 getting released and realizing it wasn't on a PlayStation 1, and absolutely, you know, begging my mum to go out and buy me a PlayStation 2 to be able to play Gran Turismo 3, because, you know, Gran Turismo was all I played as a child. You know, it was addicting. There was long games, they were tough to beat. It took, you know, even years to beat some of these Gran Turismo games. So I can see why Sony want to shift this game out. However, I feel like it's now put Polyphony in a situation to take, you know, be in the firing line really for all the hate and all the, you know, all the comments saying it's an absolutely awful game, this, that and the other. And I feel like now they are going to have to try and rebuild a reputation for not only themselves but for the Gran Turismo series as a whole. And hopefully it does follow the format of, you know, what Gran Turismo 3 did. You know, Gran Turismo 3 was followed by Gran Turismo 4, which is probably the most loved game in the entire franchise. You know, it was much bigger, you know, much more complete. There was a bigger range of cars, it looked better. So, you know, hopefully Gran Turismo 7 is kind of a tech demo to what hopefully Gran Turismo 8 may be, if we do get a Gran Turismo 8. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. Gran Turismo 7 has been absolutely slated across the board. There's people that will, you know, go out of their way just to hate this game and just stir up a load of controversy. However, you know, it did sell well. You know, it sold very, very well. In fact, they made countless profit on this, you know, which kind of does make me think, why are the microtransactions still there then? At that point, I'll admittedly say that is very kind of greedy. But, you know, if it does give us a better version of Gran Turismo and we get a Gran Turismo 8 that feels as complete to what Gran Turismo 4 did to Gran Turismo 3, I'm fully on board. Do what you need to do, you know, even if it means stop focusing on Gran Turismo 7 early to go and produce Gran Turismo 8, then yeah, I mean, as long as it's a complete game, or if they want to stick with Gran Turismo 7, because, you know, foundation wise this game is absolutely amazing. You know, it feels perfect, the driving feels great now, whether you're on controller or wheel. I absolutely love driving these cars around. There's no game that quite feels like it. You know, a lot of people complain every time they update the handling, but to be honest, I find it very, very good, and it does feel I guess much more, I guess, I want not necessarily professional, but it feels better than 99% of all the other racing games. When you go and play something else after playing GT7, I can guarantee any other game will have a lot more flaws in the handling or physics model than Gran Turismo does. So, you know, I do feel like they could possibly focus on this game and make it a bigger and better product. However, I feel like it's going to take a lot of time, at least a few years, and I don't mind it. You know, if they want to focus on it, just GT7 and improve it as much as they can, then, you know, I'll back them all the way. But I do kind of feel like, after thinking about it for a while, I don't necessarily think it's all down to Polyphony. I think Sony has a big say in this. I personally believe they rushed this game to market to try and get it out and sell as many consoles as possible, because it came out around the time where PlayStation fans were getting a bit more accessible. When they first released, it was, you know, entirely pointless. You couldn't really get one, but they were, you know, starting to pick up production. There was a lot more available. You could probably actually go and get yourself one, and, you know, obviously they've got it on PlayStation 4 as well. I do feel like Sony did have a big say in essentially rushing this game out, to the point where now Polyphony are in the firing line and they've got to, you know, rebuild this franchise and get it to where probably most people want it to be. So there you go, that's my opinion. I think Sony had a huge deal with rushing this game out, and I feel like Polyphony are in the firing line for everything while Sony sit back and count the money. But yeah, I genuinely think it was a rushed release. I think Sony had a lot to do with it. And, you know, hopefully we do get Gran Turismo 7 where it deserves to be, or close enough to where it deserves to be within the next year or so. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know your opinions in the comments down below. Discuss with each other. You know, let me know what you guys think. It'll be quite cool to just see what, you know, the general consensus is over this topic, and it's always good to see people having a proper discussion instead of just throwing shade at each other. So yeah, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, turn those notifications on so you don't miss an upload from myself. Thank you so much to my channel members. If you do want to become a channel member, there will be a button somewhere on this video. Don't forget to check out that controller people link for your controller needs. If you want to donate, my buy me a coffee is in the description down below. All donations and such go straight back into the channel to help improve my content and keep pushing it forward. So yeah, that's it guys, take care, peace.